The latest tech,
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
interviews,
And we are evolving, and we are seeing an amazing opportunity that is happening.
accessibility.
Accessibility is one of our core values.
This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Double Tap TV. Thank you guys at home for being here along for the ride each and every single week. A couple of shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Greg in Pennsylvania. He sent us an email last week that we read on Double Tap Canada, which you can hear Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on AMI Audio. Bob reached out on Twitter, asked us some great questions as well. So if you guys want to get involved like these two, just email us. It's feedback@ami.ca. Of course, that's our email address. If you want to do it on Twitter, no problem. It's at Double Tap Canada. And use the hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. It helps us obviously find those questions a lot quicker. I am Mark Aflalo, joined every single week by Stephen Scott. Stephen, we got so much incredible feedback on our CES 1 hour special. Lots of people asking us for more, and we are going to deliver on that. So over the coming weeks, make sure you're following us on Twitter. Again, it's at Double Tap Canada, because we're going to be pushing out some pretty exclusive and unique content from our 2021 CES show. Some stuff you didn't see, some of the interviews you did see go way longer than you actually saw on TV. So we're going to bring all that stuff for you over the coming weeks. So again, follow us on Twitter at Double Tap Canada, and you'll get access to that exclusive content. You see, Stephen, you asked for it, and we actually deliver.
We are just.
How
like
you
the
feeling
postman.
this week, my friend?
Just like the postman, we always deliver. I'm great, Mark. Thank you. Yes, and this week I want to start with a question for you. Do you think that someone who's totally blind could use a virtual reality headset?
Totally blind. Okay, well, I know I'm going to cheat a little bit because I know that over the holidays you went out and ordered yourself a virtual reality headset. So I'm guessing that if you have a little bit of vision, low vision, that it could actually be helpful. Which one did you get?
Well, I did, you're right. And I got myself the Oculus Quest 2. It is in my hands right now. You know what I love about this, and this is the same for anyone who's low vision, it's got to be strong, right? It's got to be able to handle a few knocks on the ground that it will get when it falls out of my hands or falls off my head occasionally, or you walk into a wall, which you can do with virtual reality, whether you're blind or not. But the great thing about this particular headset, and the reason I opted for this one, is because it's standalone, right? Because one of the problems is often you're wrapped up with cables. I did try PlayStation's PSVR, and it's got like 800 cables attached to it, Mark. I can't work with that. It's just nonsense. So there's so many cables, so many things you can trip over. You've also got to make sure that you're constantly staring at this little box that's attached on the top of the TV. That wasn't for me. This is great. This is entirely standalone. There's no phone in here. Oftentimes you have these headsets where you have a phone attached, maybe like a Samsung Galaxy inside, like the Gear VR had. You don't have that with this. This is entirely standalone with its own hardware. You can, though, plug it into a computer if you want. I did spend a ridiculous amount of money on a USB-C cable in order to plug it into my computer. Mark found this hugely amusing, but I did because I thought this was. They told me I had to buy it, Mark. They said this is the cable you got to buy, so I bought it. So that's the Oculus
Yeah,
Link
if
cable.
they say, if it's said on the internet, Stephen, then it must be true.
Well, why would it lie? I mean, there's no evidence to prove anything on the internet is fake, so, you know, come on. Anyway, yeah, I've got this, and, you know, what's interesting is the experience of playing games. You know, I'm able to play games up close with this, which is brilliant. Now, I can't play all the big games, because anything that's really fast moving, you know, like shoot 'em ups or even certain driving games can be just a bit too much going on. So what I did was I plugged in this headset to my PC and got it going with a game called Eurotruck Simulator, which is basically a truck driving game. My take on this is, Mark, that driving trucks, it's a slow job, right? You don't go fast in a truck. So I'm able to drive along and, you know, hopefully not crash into anything. But with this, with the VR headset in my hand, or on my head when I'm wearing it, I'm able to get a more real VR experience of what it's actually like to drive. And that's quite a big deal for me, because I'll never drive a car. Not really, but I can in this environment. And it is really cool. And I must say, when I slipped on the headset and started playing that game, I just you know, fell in love with driving. Although I will say this, I don't really fancy being a truck driver because it's long hours.
Yeah, well, definitely long hours. You know, I could totally see in your use case, because you've got a little bit of vision. But going back to your question, which is if you're totally blind and you really can't see anything at all, how would VR even be useful to someone like that?
Well, that's the question, right? And, this is what we're wanting to focus in on this week. It's actually a really timely discussion to have because there's a whole new project that has been set up by Verizon Media in the US. And today on Double Tap TV, we're going to be hearing from Larry Goldberg, the head of accessibility, to discuss just that. There are so many great innovations in today's tech world, and it's so important that we're all able to share in that.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention, so I'm intrigued. Why don't we take a quick break and let's bring on Larry Goldberg from Verizon. It is Double Tap TV. Stick around.
Love Double Tap TV? Listen to AMI Audio for Double Tap Canada every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for news and reviews on everything tech. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys again for being here. And this week we're talking all about virtual reality, but not only virtual reality, Stephen, also augmented reality and extended reality. I am Mark Aflalo. Stephen Scott has our guests standing by.
Yeah, I'm talking with Larry Goldberg today, head of accessibility at Verizon Media. It's great to have you here with me, Larry.
It's great to be here.
So let's discuss how new virtual reality experiences, augmented reality, and other forms of reality experience can benefit the blind community. This is a field that you've not long started work on. Tell us about that and your role at Verizon.
The technologies for immersive reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, whatever you want to call it, often bundled into this notion of XR for extended reality, or just that variable of X, has been on our horizon for quite a while. And the world of gaming in particular has embraced all those technologies quite deeply. But as me and a number of my colleagues throughout industry and the advocacy organizations began looking at it now appearing due to pricing and technology availability that this was going to be a mainstream technology, something that's going to enter our lives through our work, through our learning, through our schools, through our health, medicine, online communications. What do we need to think about in terms of making it accessible for everyone? And that's what sparked the start of a whole initiative and a collaboration, a community of practice called XR Access. So I'm a co-founder of that, xraccess.org, and we have gathered quite a few people from all the sectors of the world of XR to help puzzle out this question. How are we going to make these platforms, these tools, these environments fully accessible?
So where are you with this project at the moment? I mean, are we talking idea stage, strategy phase? Are you looking at technology on the table and wondering how it all fits together to benefit the disabled community?
I'd say we are a few years into what's going to be a multiple year project. We've got the attention of a lot of the important players in the field. We've been learning from some great advances that have happened. In the gaming world, again, we keep learning from them. A very big game this year was The Last of Us Part 2, which had an incredible number of accessibility features built in, which was a proof of concept. Yes, it can be done. It can be done in the commercial environment. We still need to develop a lot of the hooks, the tools, the best practices for making these environments accessible. And we need to stay up to speed because this is going to be a rapidly changing field. So we have created an organization under XR Access. We've created a strategic plan. We've begun to get funding. We've created prototypes. We have this incredible immersive captioning project that came out of Cellular in the UK. And it's proving that this all can be done. And now I think we're at the point of saying, let's hammer out some examples. Let's disseminate our best practices and show in all of these different sectors the best way it can be done and how we can assure that people with disabilities are not just involved as testers, but are there as creators, leaders, and guiders for any solution we come up with.
You know, it is great that in 2020 we saw a move towards more accessible gaming. You mentioned The Last of Us Part 2 as an excellent example of that. I mean, recently, as I mentioned earlier, I got the Oculus Quest 2 VR headset, a great piece of kit. I just wonder, though, as Mark does as well, how can that be made accessible to a totally blind person? I mean, I'm thinking about 360 audio. I guess that would help. Does that go some way? I mean, there's definitely capacity there for an accessible solution, isn't there?
Oh, there's room for all kinds of innovative thinking. And you mentioned Oculus. They were an early supporter of this whole initiative. They came in to a symposium we first had in 2019 at Cornell Tech, our partners on this. And in late 2020, they rolled out a whole best practices for accessible VR and published it on their website. And it was really impactful. So the notion of the Quest and whatever comes after that being accessible to blind people goes certainly to the notion of a blind person going into an immersive environment and hearing some very rich descriptions. But even beyond that, I mean, we are learning from the solutions that have been applied to desktop technology for years. But we want to go so far beyond that. We want to include haptic technology. We want to include the notion of beacons throughout your virtual world that if you reach out to it, if you gesture, it will speak to you. It'll tell you where you are. It'll orient you. It could suggest where you might want to go next. So there's a wayfinding concept. Just as wayfinding is now really getting better and better on our smartphones for people with vision loss, imagine wayfinding in a world that doesn't actually exist except in the mind of the designer, and helping people get around in that world. So I think there is so much richness to this multimedia environment that a blind person certainly should not only be interested, but really should demand equal access.
It's interesting you say that, actually. There are a lot of blind people who think about virtual reality and augmented reality in the same way that a lot of us once thought about the iPhone when it was first launched. It seems like a great idea, but how are we going to benefit from this? And I think that it's that practical thinking that we need more to display here through examples that I know you're keen to get going. So I'm thinking about mobility, for example. We know that in the virtual world, there are ways to set up beacons for navigation and visual indicators for those who can see. But what about in the real world? Could VR be used to create a navigation experience better than anything else out there?
Well, that's where you get augmented reality. And that's where you're creating an environment where, for instance, you'll use the camera on your smartphone to see the world and then layer on top of that. And one of the very important aspects of that is if you leave your home, leave your technology behind and go out into the world, you're going to need massive bandwidth. You can't be tethered, so you're going to need to be wireless, and you're going to need extremely low latency. Imagine being in a busy city and using an app that's going to help you get around that city. You're going to need instantaneous response. And that's where my company, Verizon, is digging in very deeply with 5G technology. Because when you untether yourself and you want to rely and trust this technology, you need to know that data, everything you need to understand that world around you, and that your device can understand and help you navigate that world, will be right there, Johnny on the spot, as fast as possible. So that's where XR and 5G come together. And that is, as you say, the real world, the augmented world, where the technology meets your actual space that you're moving around in.
Larry, stay with us. There is so much more to discuss here.
Stephen, this gets me so excited, seeing how something as visual as VR could benefit the blind community. Really is quite amazing. How long do you think it is before we have to actually see this come to market?
Well, I'm hoping not too long. In fact, I'm going to ask Larry that very question next. I'm going to ask him that next, Mark.
Okay, let's do that. This is Double Tap TV. More with Verizon's Larry Goldberg after a quick break.
Love Double Tap TV? Listen to AMI Audio for Double Tap Canada every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for news and reviews on everything tech. This is Double Tap TV.
We're back on Double Tap TV with Stephen Scott and myself, Mark Aflalo. Before we went to break, Stephen, I asked you a question. Now it's time to get that answer from Verizon's Larry Goldberg.
Yeah, this week we're finding out how new technologies such as virtual reality and augmented reality can be used to better support blind and disabled people. Now, as you say, Mark, Larry joins us from Verizon Media, and you can find out more about the project that he's working on at the website xraccess.org. Larry, let me bring you back in. In the last segment, we talked about all of the possibilities of this technology. When do you think we will see real-world examples of what you're talking about?
I think a lot of us in this field, in industry, advocacy, academia, realized this is now coming faster than we might have anticipated. The virtual reality technology has been the next big thing for, who knows, 20, 30 years. But now it's looking like this is very close horizon. The next year or two, or even now through the work that Microsoft is doing with AI for accessibility, the announcement from Oculus, this is now. So we've kind of get on the case, or else we're going to see this bypass us, and we don't want to see that happen again. It's happened with too many other forms of new media where we play catch up. Well, look at that iPhone example. That really was the last major disruptive technology in our lives that changed so much, smartphones. And we and Apple and the rest, we got to it a little bit too late in terms of accessibility, second, third generation. We don't want to see that happen when XR becomes truly mainstream. We would like to see all the different features built right into the platforms. You can't say from day one, because when did we start? But yeah, near term, next year, within the year or two, we should be seeing more and more accessibility features.
One of the biggest challenges around accessibility is getting companies and individuals to take notice, right? Going back to that iPhone example, one of the joys when accessibility was introduced was that you didn't have to download a separate app or bolt on some other hardware. And that meant that more people could start to use it, not just those with disabilities. And that's really the benefit of universal design, isn't it? It can benefit a disabled person as well as everyone else, which in turn gives it longevity and continuing support.
I think awareness has always been the issue in the field of accessible technology. Going way back, I think it was even like late 90s, Microsoft did a study and came up with the notion that there is so much rich options within, in that case, within Windows and your computer, but so many people just had no idea. And when they learned about it, they were like 60, 70% of the users could have used one or more of the accessibility features. So it's always going to be an issue of raising awareness. At the same time, we're raising awareness about the entire technology of XR at the same time. So maybe we're going to go hand in hand, particularly in the employment and education fields, where teachers may not really understand why immersive reality might be useful in the classroom. Oh, and by the way, at the same time, it should be accessible to everyone in your classroom. So we'll be approaching it in the marketplace with both the actual existence of XR hardware and software, and the fact that we will be building more and more features right into the operating systems, into the hardware, into the software. We are definitely guided by not making it a downloadable, paid for add-on, but built into and giving the user choice on how they can deploy any of these features we'd like to see built in.
So this isn't going to be a physical thing that we eventually play with that you're going to build, is it? It's going to be something that integrates into existing hardware, I'm guessing.
I sure hope so. It's always been my hope that this is purely integrated. It's a good word. There will certainly be, and great for the marketplace if people come up with add-ons, plugins. That might be a short-term solution, but Apple has really shown the way that to really do it upright and to keep it fresh and don't regress, build it right into the OS. And as you see in all the latest features added to iOS and macOS, it just gets better and better with more and more features built right in. And that's a great model for what we would like to do across the board in XR.
And where are you with those examples then? When can we see where your head is with all this?
Well, early in 2021, we released the strategic plan for XR Access as an organization. It went through really some wonderful deep thinking from some great partners, because we knew we had caught a tiger by the tail. And the interest was growing, the urgency was growing, the opportunity for getting resources. So we just released our strategic plan with input from so many people in the field, particularly from advocates, from industry, academia, and we're now putting that into play. We're gathering the resources, gathering funding, have set up work streams that people can join in. You'll see all of that at xraccess.org. And we're hitting the ground running with, you might say XR Access 2.0, because having created a great deal of interest, it's now time for us to put this all together in a very implementable, solid, sustainable plan. So you'll see this as an organization, as a hub, as a catalyst, when we use that word catalyst quite a bit, where companies, academics can come, find resources, find users, maybe even get some grants. We're in the fundraising stage now. So we're in essence, a startup phase, like many startup companies, but we're starting up very fast with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm from everyone who's involved.
Larry, it's been so great to have you on the show today to tell us about your project, which people can find out about, as you say, at xraccess.org. Larry Goldberg, Head of Accessibility at Verizon Media, thank you so much for coming on to Double Tap TV this week.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you, Larry, for being with us on Double Tap TV. Stephen, I can't wait to see this project unfold, learn how it can be picked up here on the Canadian side of the border.
Yeah, that is where we're, again, hoping for this universal design. So it doesn't matter which country you're in, doesn't matter which language you speak, all of these features will be available to all of us through hardware we probably already have or will end up having, like, for example, the VR headset.
Like most of our guests, we'll have to have Larry back on again in the future to talk about the progress, of course, when it comes to market. In the meantime, I've got an Oculus Quest 2 in my shopping cart, ready for me to order.
Oh, I'm sensing a VR battle coming.
You read my mind, Stephen. Thank you always for being by my side. You guys at home, please do follow us on Twitter. It is at Double Tap Canada, and use that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. Or if you prefer email, you can use feedback at ami.ca. On behalf of Larry Goldberg from Verizon Media, Stephen Scott, I am Mark Aflalo. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you on our next show.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit ami.ca/doubletap. Hosted by Mark Aflalo and Stephen Scott. Editing, Will Latar. Production assistants, Wendy Kaufman. Content review, Zachary Aflalo. Social media, Andy Wynn. Segment producer, Sean Priest. Voiceover, Anna Vicino. Integrated Described Video Specialist, Ron Rickford. Coordinating producer, Jennifer Johnson. Director, Production, Karen Nye. Director, Programming, Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2021, Accessible Media, Inc.